Okay, so I'm just curious on the view. What would be a virtue that I guess if women lost that virtue, it would be worse for society
Chastity.
than men? Explain.
And we can, I mean, we can dive right into it. So chastity would be an easy one.
Okay.
So men, for instance, they can impregnate basically like as many women as they can make a deal for, right? As many as if there was 100 women who were lined up here today and you could have sex 100 times, you could impregnate 100 women.
Sure. We're assuming they're consenting to the sex?
Yeah, you could actually do that, right? But you agree that women can't. They can only get pregnant by one man at a time.
Yeah, sure. There is a difference
So then
there.
if that's the case, then when we're talking about the social cohesion, right, women are basically going to be the gatekeepers of whose DNA passes on and whose DNA doesn't pass on. You agree with that?
How are they the gatekeepers, though?
Well, because you can have as many children as you want.
Sure.
They can't.
Yes.
Yes, they can't. So they get to basically be the selection for reproduction, not you.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you see what I'm saying? They get to be they get to be kind of the gatekeepers for who gets to reproduce and who doesn't get to reproduce. Whereas you, right, you can just reproduce with like everything that you saw, as many partners as you could arrange for who would agree. Mm-hmm. You could actually impregnate all of them, right?
Sure, but would then you
so
would,
for
you
women,
would probably also agree they shouldn't do that.
Yeah,
though,
yeah.
Right?
So if women aren't chaste, right, if they're not chaste and they have sex with like 50 men, right, at least this used to be the case, especially, then paternity comes into question. Other things come into question. Right? Not really the case with men. If you had sex with 100 women, right, and no other men had sex with them, right, or 100 men had sex with this woman, and what are you doing, dude?
Bring me water.
Oh, fuck. This guy's like shifting behind me. I'm like, what the fuck is he doing? All right, so where were we at?
Well,
Yeah. So conditional. We're talking about the gatekeeping of female pregnancy.
Okay, I just don't see how it's different in terms of like men would have questionable about paternity if they have sex.
How would they have questions about
with 100
paternity?
women? Wait, are you assuming that only one man is having sex with these 100 women, or all of men are having sex with 100 women?
Yeah. So if it is the case that a woman has sex with 20 different men, right? It is the case that paternity is going to be in question, right?
Sure.
That is indeed the case.
Paternity is going to be in question. Yeah, paternity is going to be in question.
Yeah, so if we go back, the reason I'm tying this in with virtues, the reason I'm kind of moving from the back end to the front end is to explain this concept to you. I wish I had home math skills so I could draw this out. Let us assume for a moment that you wanted to be assured that your child was yours and you didn't have paternity tests.
Okay.
How could you do that?
In the old, like, I guess, a long time ago?
Well, it's not that long ago. Paternity tests are modern.
Fine. And you want to be sure of it?
Yeah.
I guess then only you would be having sex with your wife or something like that. Or you would want to have sex with a woman who wasn't actively having sex with other men at the same time. And I think that's perfect. I think that's a perfectly normal boundary
So wait,
to have.
hang on. What is the last thing you just said? You would want to make sure what?
That you and your wife were the only people having sex with each other.
Right.
I think there's nothing wrong with monogamy.
What would be a good tell for that?
What do you mean?
That she wasn't having sex with a lot of men before you, right?
Wait. No, I don't necessarily think that's the case.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think so. I think people can engage in a lot of sexual activity because they're enjoying that, and they enter a monogamous relationship and decide that that's what's best for them, and that's what they want.
Well,
I don't think that just because she chooses to have a lot of sex outside of a relationship means that she should automatically be distrusted within a monogamous relationship.
So let's just make sure we got this right.
Is it same for men, though?
We're going to set this. No, it's not.
Well,
but I'll get into that next.
If a man has sex with a bunch of people, and he gets into a relationship,
I'm going to explain
should he be distrusted?
I'm going to explain it.
Okay.
But let's move into this because we're talking about the social destruction aspect. So let's start with this. You think that it is the case that if a woman has a promiscuous past, right, that should essentially not in any way men should show no distrust towards that woman for the purposes of having a family with her.
Hold on. Was she in relationships with people, and was she lying to them, and was she cheating on them?
She was just having a lot of promiscuous sex with many, many men.
Then that's fine. Well, I guess we're assuming also like no STDs, no stuff like that.
Sure, we just bake it in.
Okay, fine. Then I don't.
There shouldn't be any trust distinction at all?
No. I mean, you have conversations with this person. Be like, yeah, no, I had that past. I enjoyed that part of my life, but I want to settle down now.
And would you say that those women would probably be on par with trust of like virgin women when it came to that? Right. It follows, right?
Sure.
Except
yeah.
it doesn't, because you didn't think about it, and here's why.
Okay.
There's if I were to ask you about comparisons, right? Comparatively,
Yeah.
if a woman only has sex with one partner, can she compare any other partners to that man she's had sex with?
No, I guess not.
So she wouldn't be knowing what she was missing out on or not missing out on, right?
Sure.
Yeah. So then if that's the case, if a virgin got married, right, she would have no other men to make comparisons against for any potentiality she might be missing out on, correct?
Hold on. Yes, but then you're claiming that you should marry virgin women because there might not be another guy, or they're not going to have a reference for another guy who's better at having sex than you are.
Or better at whatever the traits are. So the more that human beings experience partners, how's that weird? It just blows your position out.
No, it doesn't blow my position
You
up.
said there's no distinct thing that we could ever point to, right? And this is because when I asked you, hey, do you think that it's the case that if you have a virgin woman, right, versus a very promiscuous woman, they're equally as trustworthy? You said yes. However, you instantly blow your own position out the second you say that there is a comparative analysis which people are going to be making. That would erode the trust immediately.
Wait a second. So just so I can understand your position, I want to just restate what you're saying back to you. Are you saying that because a woman who had more sex before marriage has more experience with what men she likes and what men she doesn't like, that therefore within the marriage, if she's unhappy with the state of the current marriage, she has things to compare it to, and thus she might be more likely to leave? Is that what you're saying?
Well, not just that, right? But it could be that if she had never experienced, and in fact, this is likely because women polled say this, if she had never experienced these other men and had no comparison, she would actually be much happier in the current relationship that she was in.
Well, that's just, okay, so ignorance is bliss is what
it's
you're
arguing?
arguing?
It's not ignorance.
Well,
right?
it is. She doesn't know about the other men.
It's a comparative. Well, then by your standards, should she just a bunch of men so that she knows?
No, not necessarily. Wait.
So which thing is more preferable for society then?
Wait, but you're making a false dichotomy.
What's the dichotomy?
You're making a false dichotomy.
I can't wait.
You are. You're saying that there's on one side that women do not have sex or before marriage whatsoever at all, and the other one is women just people all the time, no matter what.
No, just promiscuity. I'm just asking. It would logically follow that if women had 2 men, she now has a comparison.
Yeah.
Okay, so then
I think it's a
we
good
would
thing.
just say that every single time there's an additional. Well, okay, then if you think you think it's a good thing,
then you have to be better.
Then wait a second. Then if you
have
think
to be better than the other guys.
No, let's back up. Then you think it's a good thing. You just said I think that's a good thing. So that means if that's a good thing, why shouldn't they a lot of men so that they have the largest comparison sample size possible?
I think it depends on the individual woman and what she wants. Some people don't want to have that much sex. Some people just don't.
That doesn't answer my question.
Wait.
If you think it's good that she had sex with one more person, right? Because now she has a comparative sample size. Why shouldn't she have sex with hundreds of different people to make sure she has the best comparative sample size?
To absurdity.
Oh, bro, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that it's upsetting to you. But
it's not upsetting. Hold on. Do you think that eating broccoli is good? Mm-hmm. Do you think that we should just eat as much broccoli as possible all the time?
But do I?
Did you think we just eat an insane amount?
No.
So there can be a good thing, and that thing can be good up to a threshold.
Yeah, the thing is, though, is that if I were to say, right, eating lots of broccoli is good, so I have a comparison against other vegetables or something like this, right? And you rightly asked me then, well, shouldn't we eat like a ton of broccoli then so we have the highest comparison? We can also make that and say, well, but we cut it off at this before it gets to the point of like you're going to throw up or something like this, right? That's fair, but that would still equal a lot more men, right?
Sure.
Yeah, so then you think, honestly, that women probably ought to f a lot of men.
Not ought. No. Because I also think it's...
Then wouldn't they be missing out, bro?
No, I don't think they're missing out.
How do they really know what their preferences are, though, bro?
Because because there are different women who want different things. You're ascribing a monolith. Some women might want to be virgins until marriage because they value sex in a significant way that other women don't.
Yeah, but how do they really know unless they're having sex with multiple men?
You don't necessarily have to have sex with multiple men if you don't want that comparison.
Okay.
You don't have to... Just because a comparison might be helpful in certain instances doesn't mean that the negatives for that individual person might outweigh the positive benefits that they're having.
Perfect. So then is it the case then, right, that if we're just looking at the cost-benefit analysis of comparison for outcome, if we are to have the best outcomes with women who've only had one sexual partner, because there's no comparative analysis.
Best outcomes? Can you just...
Yeah, this means they stay in their marriages longer and report happiness levels that are higher. which all virgins do almost universally.
Come on, okay. You
Yeah,
should make,
almost.
fine,
What did I say?
Overwhelming majority.
Overwhelming
Okay. Fine,
majority do.
Okay.
Same thing. And the reason I say universal is because it doesn't matter the nation. It doesn't matter the nation, at least in the Western nation. Doesn't matter the nation when it comes to dissatisfaction. Now, you can look at some nations, perhaps in the Middle East, where they measure dissatisfaction, but you can't tell if it's because they're virgins or because they live in the Middle East, right? Like, you can't tell. But in Western nations, you can tell. And here's how we know. We can do an analysis from the religious, right? The more religious they are, the less promiscuous they often are, and the more often they get married virgins, right? And here's what ends up happening. The non-religious, the secular women get married virgins, and the religious women to get married virgins both report a much higher sexual satisfaction rate, much higher attraction rate, right? And they have much less in the way of the marriage splitting up because they make no comparative analysis.
I think making a weird comparative analysis is kind of strange because what it feels like you're saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, is I don't want my wife to have had sex with other men because I don't want her to compare the sex we're having to other men, which might make me feel insecure and make me feel that my sex is not as good. Let me ask you,
is that, do you honestly believe that that's a less tenable position than yours, which is I want my wife to have had sex with multiple men to compare other men to me?
Hold on. It is. Oh, no.
I'm just saying.
No, Andrew.
That is what you're saying,
no,
bro.
No, it's not.
Well, then why would you be against it?
Wait, I'm not, because women aren't a monolith, Andrew, and women don't all want the same thing.
So what? That's not what we're talking about.
Wait,
did I say women were a monolith or they all want the same thing? Or did I say that if you make a comparative analysis for outcome, that the outcomes tend to be a lot better for the virgin women because they don't make the comparative analysis?
I think it is strange to say people ought to have less experience so they don't know what they're missing out on.
I think
so they don't know what they're missing out on.
So then you're right. They don't know what so then you want your woman to have previously been a bunch. So you wouldn't want her to be with you only because she didn't know what she was missing out on.
Yeah.
Right?
So wait a second,
All right,
Andrew, wait a second. Let me